Welcome, everyone. My name is Rafael. I'm founder and CEO of Visionaries NV. I'm a serial entrepreneur, mentor, investor. I will tell you more about myself when it's my time to talk. Now, I would like to introduce you to Sean, my friend who spent a lot of years on trade shows, and during today's event, we would like to take give you kind of like more information. I would call it from the ground, right? From people who participated in trade shows, who participated in CES, who know how to do business in US. You can notice that this hour is not. It's now 11 p.m. in Las Vegas. We are doing this webinar especially for Europe and Asia. So our friends that are coming to CES, our partners that are coming to CES, can kind of learn more from the ground, from people that do those trade shows for living, right? So I hope this information will be very valuable for you. Let me let me just do my work as a MC to recognize all of you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Kila, for joining us here, and thank you all our friends that are on the attendees list. And let me just recognize Shaq from Governance Office of Economic Development. And I'm seeing he's on the list, so he's also our great friend. So hi, Shaq. Great you are here, and great that everyone is here. No, I also see Sergeant from Slovenia. So some of our usual friends are here. So yeah, so without further ado, Sean, please take it away and tell us how we can get more out of CES, right? We are very curious about this.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Rafael. So I guess I'll just start. I'll share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Yep, it works.
We can see it.
Awesome, cool. Well, again, thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. As Rafael mentioned, my name is Sean Gigermosa. I've spent most of my career building products and working with teams where conversations directly determine outcomes. So sales conversations, product conversations, partner investor conversations. So the kind of conversations that either move a decision or disappear into noise, right? So I'm also the founder of Clarative. Clarative exists for one simple reason, is we kept seeing that most valuable things get created at trade shows wasn't the booth, wasn't traffic, it wasn't badge scans. It was actually the most valuable thing that you get at trade shows are the conversation that you have with exhibitors and visitors. And yet, that insight, those conversations that you have, consistently get lost once the show ended. So, for example, you go to a trade show, you talk to so many people, and when you get back to office the week, like 3 days later, 4 days later, out of the hundreds of people that you talk to, you probably forgot, like 99% of the context for each of those interactions. So before I built Clarative, I spent years at CES and other trade shows on both sides as an exhibitor and walking the floor. And every year I saw the same pattern, right? So people are busy all day, calendars were full, booths were crowded, conversations were constant. But when it ends, again, most of those conversations quietly went nowhere. And it's not because people weren't interested, and it's not because their products were not impressive, but the conversations themselves was never designed to survive beyond that moment. So today, I'm going to share what I've observed across CES and other major trade shows about why strong booth conversations fail to turn into real outcomes, and what both exhibitors and visitors can do differently to make CES, the conversation that you have, actually carry forward. So to start, if you strip CES down to its fundamentals, there's really only one thing being created all week. And it's not surprising. It's really conversations. And, I've said it several times already. The booth is infrastructure. The badges that you get is access. The demos are triggers. But the outcomes, the goals that you're going to get, the goals don't come from the booths. Outcomes come from what survives after those conversations end. What do you remember? So for exhibitors, right, this shows up in a very specific frustration. So you talk to dozens, sometimes hundreds of people. You scan badges, you get a list of names of leads that you got from the show. You answer questions, you give demos all day. Then a week later, 2 weeks later, when it's time to follow up, everything blends together into this big blob that every person just becomes one and you don't remember anything. You remember interest, but not intent. So here's a real example. Someone from a big company stops by. You know the brand, you remember the logo, you remember that you felt positive, but you can't remember whether they were evaluating something for this quarter, or they're just researching, or they're just looking around, or just exploring the floor. And if you're an attendee, the same problem occurs on the other side. You walk the floor, you see impressive products, you talk to very smart, innovative teams, and you feel very productive, right? Like you see all of these things. But when you get home, only one or two of those conversations that you're actually having influence on what you do next. Because as an attendee, you're actually, you have a goal. You have something that you want to do. And out of all those hundreds of conversations that you're having, only two really matter. And those are the conversations, because they have meaning, that's why they survive. So CES, the value of CES lives or dies based on what survives after that interaction, that conversation ends. And when that meaning fades, when that meaning is not remembered, that momentum fades for both the exhibitor and the visitor. So why do strong conversations rarely turn into outcomes? And here's the uncomfortable truth. Even like what you feel as a good conversation rarely turn into an outcome because it does not have a goal, or that goal is never explicit. It's never made explicit. So what usually happens looks exactly like what's on the slide, right? It's the conversation. It feels productive. I talked to a lot of people. I had a really good conversation. I talked like 5 minutes with this person. They're engaged. They're like, oh yeah, like, I'll show you a demo. There's good energy. Like they ask good questions. There's interest. And you hear things at CES, and you hear this a lot at CES. It's like, oh, that's very interesting. Or we should definitely follow up after CES. And then everyone, like the visitor walks away feeling good. Exhibitors like, oh, I feel good. But that meaning, that context stays in people's heads. No one says out loud why this conversation matters. No one defines what success looks like after the event. And everyone assumes that, oh, like people, we'll do it after the show. We'll write our notes after the show. And when you say later, that's when it breaks. Because especially at CES, when there's like 40, 50, 60, 70,000 people, you're going to talk to a person one after the other, after the other, after the other. As a visitor, you're going to talk to a booth, an exhibitor. So all of those, as I mentioned, like the context for each of those conversations get lost. So now I want to be precise because I don't want people to often be confused about this. A real conversation goal is not a polite ending. So what I mean by that, it's not a let's stay in touch, or yeah, we should follow up, or as I said before, yeah, this is interesting. Those are just something that you say if you're being nice, to be honest. Those don't imply decision. They don't define success. They don't change what happens after CES. A real goal answers one question. What will happen differently after this conversation I have with this visitor or this exhibitor? If nothing changes, there was not a goal. So here's what a real goal sounds like. For an exhibitor, by the end of this conversation, I want to know if this is worth scheduling a follow-up meeting after the show. Because my goal is to decide if this fits in the visitor's evaluation plans for this year or this quarter. And I want to understand if this is something the visitor, their team, would seriously consider, or it's just interesting technology. Because as I mentioned, for an exhibitor, you're looking for visitors that has a good fit to the product that you're providing. So each of those questions creates a decision. Each of those questions creates.
I don't know if it's only on my side, but I still see the previous slide. I don't know if you progressed it.
No, we're still on the same slide.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, each of those creates a yes or no, and each of those creates a next action. So that is your goal, right? Your goal should be like, is there something concrete that I can get from this conversation? And then for the attendee, it's the same on a different side. So for an attendee is I'm trying to decide if this belongs on my short list. Because for an attendee, if you're looking at all of these different exhibitors, you're looking for a solution that would, like you're going to CES to decide on something, to find products, to find solutions, to find services, to find partners. So you want to decide if that exhibitor, that company fits in your short list that you want to get back. You want to decide if that product or service that they're showing is mature enough to bring to your team. And if your CES conversation doesn't change, then what happens isn't a goal, or that CES conversation didn't have a goal. So 2 CES conversations can look identical on the surface. So you're going to have the same booth, the same enthusiasm, the same smiles, the same, this is interesting energy. But one creates momentum and one stalls. The difference isn't enthusiasm. Is it like, oh my God, this is great? Because at CES, to be honest, enthusiasm is easy. The difference is intent. You want to have momentum conversations, and momentum conversations have 3 things that stalled conversations don't. First, the relevance is clear. So here's an example. If the attendee isn't just saying, oh, that's cool, or they're saying something, they have to say something like, we're actively looking at solutions for your product or for this right now, for this problem right now. Or we're trying to solve this problem this year. So when you ask them questions and they give you those triggers, that means there is intent. The second is the opportunity is understood. The use case is understood. So if, for exhibitors, again, if this person is a potential customer, a partner, media, or just curious. Are they actually looking at your product or services because they need a problem solved, or they're just looking and walking around? We had one exhibitor that that calls them the looky-loos, because those are the visitors that just wanders around the show looking at all the new stuff that's coming out. And the third is a logical next step exists. And it's not let's stay in touch, but something more concrete. Or it's not let's follow up. It's hey, let's set up a 30-minute call with the right person in your side. Or it's hey, when we're back at the office next week, I'll send you 2 options and you tell me which one works. So it has to be very specific, because let's stay in touch doesn't really get you to where you need. Let's stay in touch is kind of like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. But it's something concrete. Like, let's have a conversation tomorrow or next week on Tuesday. Let's have a 30-minute meeting. And I can bring procurement on my side or whoever we need to include in that conversation. So stalled conversations that doesn't go anywhere end with a polite ending. Oh, that's great. Momentum conversations end with a decision and the next action. It's the same effort, but completely different outcomes. And how do you get that, right? How do you get momentum conversations? And a lot of people resist structure because they think it makes conversation feel transactional. It makes them feel like, oh, it's the script that I have to go to. But I would say at CES, having structure actually protects meaning, because CES is not a calm environment. Everyone is overloaded. You're processing hundreds of inputs a day. You're seeing all of these things, all of these booths, big booths. You're meeting so many people. So longer conversations don't automatically actually create more value. So they create more blur. So structure simply means that you're trying to answer one question early. And that question is this conversation worth going deeper, or is it not? And for exhibitors, this is critical, right? Because not every conversation should advance. You want to actually advance the conversations for those people that's looking for something that your service provides, not just those, as I mentioned, those looky-loos. And that's not a failure. That's focus. So here's an example. You can tell within 60 seconds whether someone is a serious evaluator or a casual browser. And the mistake is treating both the same. So if someone is casually browsing, you give them a clear overview of your product and move on. But if someone is evaluating, if you ask that question, if they're looking at it for a product or like something for this year or next year, then you slow down. You ask more questions. You get clarity. You get clarity on their decision process, so that you can have that actionable next step, right? So you can plan that ideal. Okay, then let's do that 30-minute meeting next week with your procurement officer. Now, for attendees, it's a little bit different. Oh, excuse me. The structure works the same way, but instead of having 10 vague conversations that, again, all blur together, You want to have 3 focus conversations that you can actually act on when you get home. So have your list. Like, is this something that I want to put in my short list, or is this something that, like that's interesting, but they're not really ready right now? And then once you have those 3, then that clarity on having those 3 that you want to work with actually beats volume every time. So where does CES, where does the CES value actually break down? So this is kind of like where everything falls apart. And it's not on the show floor. It breaks down after the show, during the follow-up. And I've seen this pattern enough time that it's almost predictable. And I said it a little bit earlier already, right? So CES, once it ends, people fly home, back to Europe, back to Asia. You're exhausted. You tell yourself, oh yeah, I'm gonna follow up when I get back to the office next week, when things slow down. But then reality hits. You go back, your inbox is full because of all the emails that you didn't, answer while you were away. Your normal priorities are back, your tasks are back. And, like those contacts, the things that you remember, see it immediately starts to fade. You open your LinkedIn or your notes and look at the list of people that you met. And I would bet, since we're in Vegas, $100 on this. Oh, I remember, that you would say something like, I remember liking this conversation, but I don't remember, I don't remember why. And, that's not a memory problem. That's a context. That's a meaning problem. So, here's another example. You have an exhibitor that looks at, like a contact from a major brand and can't remember if the person that they talked to was the decision maker, if they were the influencer, or just somebody walking the floor. They remember the logo. They remember that the conversation felt good, but they don't remember what was the problem that was discussed. What was the problem that the visitor actually talked to them about? What was the decision that was left on the table? Why did they actually visit? What was that thing that they thought was interesting about your product that they came and listened to your demo? So because they are forgotten, the follow-up becomes very generic. It becomes like, oh yeah, it was great meeting you at CES. Let's reconnect. Every visitor is going to get, oh, hey, we met at CES. This is who we are. And a generic follow-up goes nowhere. Not because the interest, the interest that they have disappeared, but because you gave them no reason to continue. If your follow-up is generic, like, oh, what do you think that visitor was? Oh, I spoke to you for, like 10 minutes, but you don't even remember what we talked about. So the value, again, of CES breaks down when the reason the conversation mattered is no longer available. It's because you forgot. You forgot, and then your follow-up, the action, is generic. So the one key takeaway that I want you guys to have for this presentation is, if conversations, as I mentioned, are the real assets at trade shows, at CES, then they really need to be treated like assets. And that means 3 things. You have intent going in, meaning I have a goal. You have clarity coming out. meaning I understand the context and I remember the context for each of those conversations. And you have discipline afterward. That when I follow up, that I'm precise, that I'm following up based out of a need. So here's what that looks like. So intent going in means you're not just trying to have a good chat, right? You're trying to reach a decision. You have a goal to reach a decision. Here's an example for an exhibitor. I'm trying to determine if it's worth following up meeting after CES. For an attendee, I'm trying to decide if this belongs in my shortlist, right? Like those questions that you have to answer. Clarity coming out means that when the conversation ends, as I mentioned, there's a shared understanding on what happens next. It's not a let's stay in touch, but here's the next action and who owns it. Let's have a meeting next week on Tuesday with your procurement team. And discipline afterwards means that when you're following up, it's anchored in context, in meaning, and not just from generic messages. Because the follow-up that works are not necessarily the faster ones. They're the most specific ones. And the teams that win at CES aren't the busiest. They're the ones that protect the value of those conversations. I mean, think of it this way, right? If you get like a follow-up that says, hey, let's reconnect, or hey, we met at CES, love to reconnect. Or you go to, like another exhibitor would go to you. It's like, hey, we met at CES. I know you were talking about having this problem for, like farming. Our drone technology would really help with that. So they're two different follow-ups, but one's more specific. And the ones that's more specific actually would be more successful. So to give some examples, I want to make this a little bit more practical. So, and these aren't sales scripts, right? I call them like clarity tools that work in trade shows like CES in that environment. So for exhibitors, these questions do one thing. They help you identify whether there is real decision behind that interest. So for example, if someone watches a demo, you can ask, hi, what caught your eye that made you stop? And that tells you what they actually care about, not what you want them to care about. Then after that, you can say like, okay, that's great. Is this for personal interest or is this for your company? Because, in the end, like CES has both. And you have people who goes there just who loves gadgets, or people that's actually making business decisions. Again, treating those two the same is a waste of time. And you want to put your more effort on the ones that's actually doing it for a company. And finally, you wouldn't ask, or next is asking, is this something that you're exploring, or are you actually evaluating options? Because if the visitor is building a short list, you want to be on that short list, right? So if you understand that they're evaluating options, you want to position yourself as an exhibitor to be one of those options. And that question is what actually separates the cool from we're actually doing something. And you want to focus on the visitors that's actually doing something. And then the key question is, so if our solution is relevant, what would be the right next step after CES? And that question focuses the conversation on the decision, the next action. So, and again, these questions don't push the conversation forward artificially. They actually let relevance reveal itself. Now, for attendees, it's a little bit different. Here's some questions that actually help you cut through like the hype of what's being sold at CES and leave with something actionable. So, for example, what's this product actually designed to do in the real world? Because that question is important, because at this trade show at CES, you're going to see a lot of impressive tech. The question, actually forces the exhibitor to explain the real outcome for their solution, for their service. Then after that, you would ask oh, so who is this built for? Because in the end, many products can sound like, oh, it's built for everybody. It can sound universal. But the best ones are the ones that are specific. Oh, this product is for, senior diabetics that have issues with, needles. So our product, is built to help them check their levels without having to get blood. Specific. And then following that is, what makes this different from what I've seen today? There's hundreds of exhibitors at CES that claim the same thing, that are providing the same product as you. So this forces, again, the exhibitor to differentiate their solution, their service, their product in plain language. And then I like this because this is the most important one, is if I follow up, what should that conversation actually be about? Because, again, that turns the question of that vague let's connect into a concrete next step. So these questions then turn curiosity into clarity, and clarity is what makes following up worth doing. So again, I just want to end this with a simplest version of the message that I've been talking, is that CES is not short on conversations. It's short on conversations that survive. So if you remember nothing else, I want you to remember this. If a conversation doesn't change what happens after CES, then it didn't have a goal. And goals create decisions. Decisions create next steps. And it's those next steps that create outcomes. And good CES conversations don't end with interest. They end with clarity. So I'll have, thank you. Raphael, back to you.
Great, Sean. I like it. It's a great piece of information. Thank you so much for that. I'm sure everyone enjoyed that. We'll do a Q&A session after at the end. But if you have any questions to this session or to what I will be presenting now, type them in, or just wait till the end, and then we'll go through those. So let me now share my screen, and I hope you can see it. Sean, is it working?
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, so we heard how being on trade show on CES, but generally on trade show in the US looks like, right? We are probably all coming here to CES, or are interested in CES because we want to get first customers, maybe more US customers. But this is the tricky part, right? Let me give you some kind of background about me. As I mentioned, you probably can also figure out after my last name, I'm not originally from US. I'm originally from Poland. I moved here 6 years ago by growing my original company that's in medtech. The company is called Diagnomatic. We are in diagnostic imaging, just to give like a general idea about what I was doing. So I'm kind of in your shoes, right? I was in your shoes years ago. We founded this company with my dad in 2008. And I always knew that, export, that going global is my thing, right? This is what I want to do. This will be the success of my company. And US was always kind of on my radar. I wanted to sell here. I wanted to be successful here. But it was very difficult. We were able to get distributors in Germany, in Japan, in Korea, right? We had many distributors in a lot of countries, but we were always struggling with US. To the point that when I was coming to trade shows in US, very dedicated, very niche trade shows only for my industry since like 2013, and it didn't get anywhere, right? So on one side, we have to be very tactical and very knowledgeable on how to behave on trade shows, as Sean was explaining to us. But that works, right, when you are local, when you are a local company. But when you are a national company, you have extra kind of handicap, I would say, because you lack trust. But I will get to that. What are the problems? And so, like I was doing the right thing, right? I was doing the right things, but I couldn't get to the moment of cooperation, of having a deal. Except obviously, like as Sean mentioned, of all the wonderful conversations, right? So what changed? Right? What was the key? The key for us was when we thought, okay, like we have to commit, right? And we opened virtual office in Miami, in Florida. At that moment, we had distributors in 80 other countries. So we knew what we are doing. We knew how to enter other markets. Just those things that from other markets, they don't work here. It's completely different, very specific market that requires special approach. And we kind of figured out how to open the market, but then because I didn't have any connections, any relations in Miami, despite like coming twice a year to Miami and Chicago, it kind of like didn't move the needle much, right? And what was kind of like a groundbreaking was when I moved here. Actually moved here 6 years ago in July 2019, after coming here on a business trip in January 2019, after recognizing how great Nevada as a business ecosystem is, as a kind of starting ecosystem for somebody trying to expand to US from other countries, how great this place is for this kind of endeavors, right? It's completely different. Everybody's thinking about California, San Francisco, LA, Texas, East Coast, right? But those are so saturated places that you are a very small fish in a very big pond. Nobody will recognize you. Nobody will talk with you. You have to be really unicorn to kind of make it happen. For me, like this was the great shot to come to Nevada, because here even a small company can be recognized. And this led, my moving here led to, very quickly we doubled the size of the company, right? And now US is 30% of our global turnover, right? So I know how it works. I know what works, right, and how to be successful here. But as I mentioned, I have experience on this market, not only from this Polish company, but also, I mentored a lot here. I got into angel investing, I got into mentoring. I calculated recently, I mentored more than 400 companies. I'm just kind of like entrepreneur person. I'm fascinated about entrepreneurship. So I noticed how things work here, and I also wanted to be kind of successful here. And to be successful here, I will be repeating this very often. To be successful here, you have to act as a US company. That's the kind of like, in short, the main success kind of recipe. Like this is how you should do it. You just have to act. You have to be good US company to be successful in the US. So during my time here, I also work a lot with international companies because I'm the one who made this kind of move to to change the country. And I met with a lot of companies. I doing this kind of presentation, talk a lot. So it's not only based on my own experience, but also the experience of hundreds of companies I observed and work with. So what are the challenges, right, when coming to the US? I will focus only on few. I will not touch legal stuff because for me, that's not a challenge. Legal challenges are not challenges. You just hire a good lawyer and you have no problem. What's the biggest problem? The biggest problem is market misconception. I see it a lot, like everybody is kind of trying to do the same thing like they did at home, right? I mentioned we knew as a company what to do, how to enter other markets. But all those things from other markets, they didn't work here. And this repeating story, I hear it a lot. Everybody thinks it's okay, I will just come here, I will sell my product, everybody will see my product, everybody will buy my product. No, really. It's not that easy. It's huge market. It's a market with huge potential, but also very competitive market. And also, it's a mistake to treat entire US as one country. The issue here is it's a collection of 50 states. Each state is different. That's why it's also the place you are entering the US is very important. If you choose a red ocean like California, Texas, East Coast, it will be very difficult for you, very. You should choose those states, those markets that are more absorbent, but where you can really shine, but fit what you are producing, what you are making, right? You should be very strategic on choosing the right spot to enter, and from there you can propagate to other states. So there is no magic competitive advantage story, for us. I'm saying us because I was doing that 2 years ago. There's no magic advantage we have. We have harder. It's harder for us. But if we are smart at this, we will succeed. Other problem is no local relationships. Everybody has to understand that this is kind of pay-to-play market, right? It's very important to have relations. It's very important to have, network. If you are unknown, it will be very difficult for you. Things like cold mailing, cold calling do not work here completely. That's not the way to do it, to do business here. Again, you have to do the business as Americans do. And American companies are based on relations, right? This is, and also customer referrals, they are, as you see here, they are 92% more trusted than cold outreach, right? So 60% of B2B business comes from referrals, and I know it myself, right? This is very important. Referral network is something that takes time and a lot of effort to build, but this is the long game, but at the end will bring you success. And also remember about this. Last two kind of most important things. Paid localization. And I'm not talking about localization in terms of language. No, I mean localization in terms of understanding US customer, US B2B customers, US B2C customers. We cannot assume that our product will fit US market one-to-one normally, right? We can just transfer it here and it will work here. We cannot assume that the same problems we identify in Europe, in Korea, in Asia, are transferred here. No, we have to identify the problem and deliver solution to the problem. This is how startups work here. This is how Sean is creating his startup, right? He can confirm this. This is how all of us here on local market work. We start with a problem and we deliver solution to the problem. If you have solution and you're looking for a problem, that's a problem, right? That's not great approach, right? But to understand the problem, you have to understand the customer. You have to talk with the customer. You have to be present on the market. You have to talk with the market. There is a story about Tesco, right? Tesco spent $200 million trying to on failed attempt to expand to US. If you don't know Tesco is like a big chain of shops from Europe, from Great Britain. The biggest mistake they made, they didn't understand, but because they wanted to flood US with small stores, right? Small kind of like a grocery stores, all stores, right? But I don't understand that US customer is used to buy in big mega stores, superstores. So those small stores couldn't work. And I have similar kind of ideas, with tech companies trying to bring their solutions here, but those solutions do not work on iPhone, for example. And that's like a kind of end of the game at the beginning, because everybody we're having this discussion at the beginning of before we started the webinar, like who is using Samsung or iPhone, right? And if your solution doesn't work on iPhone, it will fail, right? Because people here require some kind of special form of experience, right? If your experience is feels off, is not, like what customer here B2B or B2C expects, that's a problem, and that will be kind of like a red flag for them, right? Everybody here expects flawless experience, and you can see it on my slide, right? 37% of US customers will not give you second chance after failed mobile experience. So this is very crucial. This localization in terms of user experience is very important. Last point, but it's less, it's important, but less. But you cannot do it alone. It's very hard to do it alone. It's biggest failure rate, and I'm not talking about consultants, right? Hiring consultants, it's not you, right? It's not giving you guidance. It's kind of like you are trying to outsource what you are doing, and all founders here know that no matter what product you have, maybe less in B2C, but especially in B2B is very important. What's best selling is the founder. Always founder and our founding team are the best sellers. They will be most convincing to the customers, B2B or B2C, right? So you cannot outsource this process. Sometimes you are required in this process. And consultants will be very expensive, and they not always, create results. So that's very important to remember. Again, you have to act as a local company. You have to be like local company for this to work. As I mentioned, there's no magical solution work around. So how to actually succeed, right? So I'm talking about all these problems, but how to be successful? Stop doing it alone. In short, right? It's where ecosystem is the solution, right? It's a very kind of like in all the many publications now, and kind of like a business and ecosystem, business environment, like in specialists are talking about ecosystems, right? Because our world is getting so complex that no single company can kind of like handle it themselves. So ecosystems are very important. We have very great business ecosystem in Nevada, right? We have, different chambers, different organizations that work towards one goal. So it's not about money. It's not about having perfect English. It's not about relocating here, right? You don't have to do what I did. You don't have to be here, like physically. You just need network. You need intelligence, and you need right guidance. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not consultant. I created this organization that is called Visionaries NV because I wanted to help more people like you, like everyone that wants to come here. It's my way of kind of like giving back to the state, to be honest, because when I moved here, I got so much help. It really changed my life. It changed the life of my family. Like my kids were welcome to the school instead of you can. I'm working on my accent, right? But I'm talking funny, right? For local standards, but everybody here is so accepting. So I really believe in my as a businessman, as a person, as a father, that this is great place to do your business, the great place to grow your family, and that's kind of like what I'm doing with Visionary SNV. I created this platform, this ecosystem, this organization that um, helps you enter this Nevada, but also US, right? It's like all-in-one entry platform, right? We have access to more than 6,000 business leaders. We have multiple chambers in our ecosystem. We have government, investors, university. We are the tool for you to integrate into our ecosystem. And what we do in our membership is, like you can see, is like exact solution to the problems I was mentioning, right? We give you business presence here. We give you address, phone number. We give you ecosystem integration, information about the market, studies, use cases, masterminds, experts in our network that will help you figure out your market. And most of all, strategic introductions. So we kind of help you speed up the process of creating trust-based network. I'm not even mentioned like a chamber memberships, because we are as I said, like an umbrella organization, chamber of chambers that helps you connect with this great ecosystem. We are like a one point to enter this ecosystem. And so this is the way to kind of be successful around CES, because as I mentioned, coming to CES alone is not enough, right? It requires follow-up, but for this follow-up to work, you have to be local company. You have to be US company to be successful. You don't have to have US company as such at the beginning. You have to look like local company, right? I'm still like leading my Polish company, and we have a very strong office here, and we are treated as US company, which we are. We are doing a lot of research and development here, and this is the way to do it. You don't have to move here. You just have to be in the right. You just have to have right connections and right image. With it, thank you so much for listening to me. Sean, how to do we'll do afterwards like a call to action. But now I don't want to say let's stay connected, right? Because it's like kind of like it's cliche. It loses its its strength, right? So, but connect with me. Let this be our to do action. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. I will be glad to meet with every one of you on a private conversation to tell you more about how to be successful in the US and advise you how to do it. So with this, I pass it to Hila, my new Korean origin friend. So like you see, it's like Vegas is everybody's from somewhere.
That's right.
I'm from Poland and Hira is from Korea, so it's like a melting pot. So it's a great
Exactly.
place.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Just
much.
give me a second. Can you guys see it okay?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Hila Kim, and I'm the CEO of Connectica Global. I'm physically based in Las Vegas, and my work has focused on connecting Korean startups and government agencies with U.S. investors, buyers, local government, and innovation ecosystems, especially around CES. Many of you are preparing for CES, but I know how overwhelming that process can feel. So today, my goal is to share practical on-the-ground insights I've gained from actually running meetings, networking events, and government-led programs here in Las Vegas. So next one. Can you guys see it okay? I think I'm having a technical issue again. Just give me a second.
You want to progress the slide? I don't. It didn't progress. Yeah.
Okay. happens again, but let me give it a fix quickly. That's fine. It should be good now. So
Yep.
I'll continue. So what I do, I work closely with the Korean Ministry of SMEs and Startups, KISET. KISET stands for Korea Institute of Startup and Entrepreneurship Development. And then multiple Korean government agencies, universities, and most importantly, Korean startup CEOs on the ground. And on the US side, I coordinated with local Nevada investors and angels, city and county officials, and industry partner and international buyers in the US. And that's why today's topic, how to prepare and how to behave and how to get the results at CES. Like we listen to those guys, Raphael and Sean, those guys highlighted really good stuff. So I'm not gonna mention any furthermore. So I wanna keep promoting my pavilion for the time being. So, and these are the meetings that I coordinated so far. So buyers and investors, please come to the KeySet Pavilion. These are the 3D photos of our pavilion. So KeySet has brought over 80 high potential Korean startups covering healthcare and bio, mobility and space, energy and smart city, robotics and manufacturing, media and lifestyle. So these companies are very commercially ready with real products, real customers, and strong interest in global partnerships. The KeySet mission is very simple: help Korean startups scale globally by connecting them with international buyers and investors and international partners too. So if you have any companies here catches your interest, please feel free to reach out. I'll be very happy to connect you. And this stage is organized by also KeySet, and I'd love to highlight that Raphael, respected global investor who just spoke, will be hosting a seminar right here on this stage, sharing practical insights on investing, scaling, and working with Korean startups in the global market. And here is my favorite part here. From January 6 to 8, between 2 and 3 p.m., this stage will host Korean CEO demo sessions where Korean founders will showcase their real products, real traction, and real partnership opportunities. So if you are an investor, buyer, or strategic partner, this is the best place to see validated Korean innovation in action and start meaningful conversations. And yeah, we look forward to welcoming you back to the stage. So yeah, that's everything I have today. Tonight, it's exactly midnight. Raphael, do you want to take over?
Yeah, thank you so much, Hila. Thank you so much, Sean. That concludes like our performance session. So I see some questions popping up in chat. Maybe we can. I will take it from the top, and we can discuss them. What investment opportunities can we see in Las Vegas? There's a lot. It's kind of like a big subject, but over my 6 years of being here, it changed a lot. It grew a lot. Local investments are growing. Like the best example is TensorWave. It's company of my friend Piotr, who is actually also has like Polish roots, and they recently raised $100 million. And it's mostly from, I would call it, from local syndicate. So we are getting more and more funders after exits coming here from California, right, where it's crazy expensive, coming here to live their happy lives and reinvesting into the ecosystem. But again, if you want to be successful here, if you want to be successful not only in sales, but also more of that in investing and getting investment, you have to be local, right? It helps a lot. The amount of kind of companies, people that are investing outside of the US is really limited. But it works too, but like it helps to be local. Presentation will be available afterwards. Is it a good idea to come to CES to meet technological and scientific development company partners from countries other than the United States? Yes, of course. It's like a place where world comes, right? And actually, like that's a tip for everyone. As I mentioned, like I have a global company too, and what helped us a lot in growing, doubling the size of the company is not only about the US market, it's using our US presence as a leverage to grow globally. Because when you are a US company, you can use US government resources to grow globally. And that's what we did. So it's globalization, right? It's a great place to do that. Where I was, I see like our LinkedIn's. Are booths on CES single day only? Booths in terms of like rental, no, you have to rent the booth for entire show. You cannot rent it for a day. From what I know, right? There was a mention. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's for the entire show. It's for
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You cannot just rent it for a day. No, it doesn't work like that. Maybe there is somebody who has a booth and is kind of like subletting it, but I don't even know if it's allowed by CES because we are quite strict about this. There was a mention of framework from conversation. Will someone be able to provide a template for better understanding? Yeah, I think like Sean, we can develop something, right? And we'll post it on the LinkedIn afterwards. We'll have recording from this webinar available on. We'll post on LinkedIn. We'll have it on YouTube. So look out on our Visionary SNV profile. We also email everybody who signed up. We will let you know that we have recording, whether there's some information, and we'll prepare some kind of like a cheat sheet framework for you. We'll do something with something cool for you.
Quick, just wanted to answer that other question, Raphael, when they ask about meeting technological and scientific co-development partners from other countries.
Yeah.
So CES is pretty large, right? It's not just in one area. It's not just at the I guess the convention center. It's at different hotels, different convention center. So there is one specific space. It's called Eureka Park. And Eureka Park is usually in the Venetian. If you're coming on the bottom floor, that's the area where international startups, newer startups come, where there are more tech people, scientific people that are like showcasing their product, but maybe even you can find partners to co-develop your solutions. That's usually my favorite place in CES.
Maybe you can also take this one, Sean. As a service provider consultant, what is the best approach for the conversation?
Yeah, no, for sure. And as a service provider, it's always I always like to start, especially if I'm a visitor. I always like to start with like how's the show going for you, and it just opens up it opens them up to like to share more, right? So in the end, as a service consultant, you want to ask questions and like because you want to identify those triggers that you can help. So the more you can get them to talk, the more you can get them to kind of like identify or talk about the pain, the challenges that they're having, be it an exhibitor or a visitor, the more understanding and context and meaning that you're going to get from those insights to be able to present or at least say like, oh yeah, that's great, that's actually what we do, like help with for example, I don't know if your service is I don't know, drones or something, and then they're looking, like the person that you're talking to is into farming. Oh yeah, we help. We have drones that like can help with like spraying pesticides in farmland. We've actually deployed already in several countries. So as a consultant, it's really about the questions that you ask, so you understand the context, the meaning from that person.
Mhm.
And happy to
Yes,
be more specific with that as well. Again, reach out to me on LinkedIn or
Mhm.
email. Happy to help.
Yes, I think that's important. Like this kind of like consulting work, it's like as I mentioned, like it cannot like be like the way for its own. Like if you are trying to do business here only via consultant, it's not a good idea. You should have like a more presence of yourself, but a consultant are important like so very, very often for you to kind of more understand the market, right? But it cannot be like a way by its own, right? But you have an agent and you're trying to find an agent who will represent you. That's usually very tricky. It's what I learned is like the founder, the CEO is like the face of the business is usually the selling the best. That's I feel like it's also work locally here, right? Sean is selling his things, his himself, right? And if with my business, I'm doing the same, right? But we have consultants, but we are selling the best directly as CEOs because we have a better understanding. Is it worthwhile to look at the catalog before coming and start logging in and making appointments? Yes, I believe. I believe that's well. If you haven't been here yet, you will see how huge it is when you come here. It's huge. Just to give you like an idea, it's 180,000 people coming to town for this. 180,000. So it's like I'm from town in Poland that has like 60,000 people, right? So it's like 3 times my town coming here for those 5 days. So you really should plan where you want to go, who you want to meet. So sometimes also like traveling between different parts of the complex where the trade show is happening, it can take time. So it's good to kind of like be in the same area for a day, for example, right? Whereas Eureka is like if you entering Venetian from the back, so like from the sphere, like from the back part, plus Eureka straight away. If you're going from the main entrance, from the valet, you have to go to the lower hall. So it's like a hall G, as I remember. Yep. Are there any more questions?
Have you answered
There's one
this
for
one?
you, I think.
Have you answered this one? As far as I know, the IR pitch time is 5 minutes, including 2 minutes Q&A. Have you answered this one? I don't think we have.
No, Sean, maybe it will be good for you.
Okay, so it's coming from one of my Korean colleagues from KeySet. He says, as far as I know, the IR pitch time is 5 minutes, including 2 minutes Q&A. What's the most important thing for a presenter? So in terms of the investor perspective, Raphael, maybe you can answer the question?
I think it will be like universal from kind of like investor perspective and from the customer perspective. Always start with a problem, and it's good to start when you're explaining your problem. It's good to start with a story. So kind of like I when I'm talking with startups, I'm usually like they are very often missing this. I usually ask them, what made you go this way? What made you create this product? And sometimes, my mom was sick, right? And I wanted to make sure that access to nurses is easier. So I built this kind of like Uber for nurses. And also this kind of trick, Uber for nurses. Use this kind of if you want to you need to explain what you are doing in the best ways to do this with this kind of analogs, right? If I tell you, what's the car? It's horseless carriage, right? That's why it sticks. If I tell you Uber for nurses, right? you understand what I'm talking, right? So always go back to this kind of things that people understand, because when I tell this, you already can see it in your mind, right? Horseless courage. So do this kind of things, but always problem, how I'm solving the problem, what makes me unique, and it's good to also mention the market size. So okay, you have to convince people that there's a problem, there is a big problem, and we are the best solution for the problem. And this problem is big enough that this is like a kind of big part of the cake, so to say. But in short, that's how I would like explain this. You have 2 minutes. It's kind of like it's like 4 times the elevator pitch. So it's enough time to do this, I believe. But problem, a bit of personal story to help people engage, to feel like this empathy to you. What's the problem? We are the best solution, and show that you are the best solution on the market, and that there is a big market. That's how I would kind of like narrow it down.
Yeah, I want to add too, just like from a pitching perspective, I've pitched a lot of times already. Like one of the things that investors really like or look at is traction. And it has to be part of the story, right? So so you want to be investable, and to be investable, you want to have you want to have something that you've proven traction. You've proven that there's actually a market that wants to buy your product. Because like for investors, they don't just want to like there's some, and you have to really find them to just invest in an idea. But most of them will invest on something that's already proven, to be able to like scale it or grow it exponentially.
Yeah, that's true. The traction, especially nowadays, it's very hard it's practically impossible to get funding on an idea. You have to have traction. That's a very good point. Any more questions? Alexis, like, yeah, if you want to meet us, just message us and we will find you here. Okay. Any more questions, guys? I don't see any more. So yeah. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to my great co-panelists for joining me so late. I hope this was a great session for everyone. I learned a lot. I thank you, Sean, for this. Thank you, Kila, for also expanding my knowledge on the subject. And yeah, have a great for Europe, have a great day. For Korea, have a great afternoon. For us here, have
we go
a
to
good
sleep.
night.
Yeah,
we go to sleep. So
we gotta hit the
all
hay.
the best. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks,
and
guys. Bye-bye.
See you here on CES.
See you in Vegas,
Bye-bye.
guys.
See you in Vegas.